Welcome back to Off the Page with Keira. Saturday night. This is a little bit later than it should have been. I'm really trying hard to video these like at 9, but it's almost 11, so here we are. Quick overview of today. Took my son to his basketball game. Super fun to watch him play. But then all my kids kind of had friends today, and my body needed some reset. So I took a nap. I went on an hour-long walk, doing my vibrating plate. Loving that. Did that 3 times a day, just like really resetting my nervous system after this week. It was a pretty intense week. And then tonight, and everyone was playing at friends' houses and they had a friend over, I just got into the zone and I was able to work on 2 of my authors, my one-on-one clients' books, and I was able to rewrite the whole JOA website and like restructure it, redesign it, like completely new, because I just saw so clearly, like I used to say that I wanted to be the next Hay House, which I think like in the type of authors that we will continue to grow into, it will be the next Hay House, but it's not going to be a mass producer. Like I want this to be a curated publishing house. And so like I am going luxury at the top level because it is luxury, but just now the website's going to match it. So anyways, worked on that all night. And then I went to go pick up my daughter from her friend's house, and it was like 10 o'clock when I picked up my daughter. She was telling me about how her friend's mom, they got her all ready to go out clubbing, and I was like her friend's mom was going clubbing. I was like, all right. Like not everyone's just sitting at home on a Saturday night building websites. Right. And then it just made me remember that I'm actually just super weird. And I was like, maybe I should go with her sometime. And my daughter was like, have you ever been to a club? And I was like, no, I haven't. She's like, it would probably be really weird, Mom, because you don't drink and it would be weird for them. And I was like, you are right. So back to website building, I will go. But really, honestly, I would rather be doing this. Like, that's just the truth of this. And that's when I know, like, I found my calling, because I would much rather be building and creating than anything else. And, well, other than mothering. I love mothering. But my kids are all getting old, and they all have their things, and they all, friends and activities. And I'm so grateful that I found this in my life. Which takes me to the story I told you I would tell you tonight. I'm going to take you back to the beginning, which was in 2018, God told me to start a publishing house. And that seemed so insane to me. I had never been to a day of college. I was a massage therapist and a professional photographer. The massage therapist I had actually been trained in, but photography I had just trained myself. And I had these little side hustles, but I was like, why would I start a publishing house? I had a 2.7 grade point average in high school. Like, I did not think I was smart, which is crazy because now I actually own that I am brilliant. But at the time, and for a very long time in my life, I thought I was average. And actually think I thought I was dumb for a while. And how wrong I was, really, like how wrong I was. But I remember when God told me to start a publishing house, I bought a book on how to publish, and I read half of it, and I was like, got it. As I've done with everything. Sure. I understand this now. And that's actually how I know I'm really brilliant. Like, I don't have to understand something all the way before I build it and before I grow it. And that's how it was at the beginning of this. And so in the book, it said you need to go set up a business bank account, which I'd never had a business bank account. And so I walk into this bank account and I'm just disheveled, all right? I am a mother of 5 kids under the age of 11. Okay. I'm a little disheveled. And I remember I had my littlest one. He was like, I feel like he was like a year old. And no, he was older than that. I don't know why he was asleep in my arms, but he was asleep in my arms. Maybe he was 2. And I had this bank account appointment, so I had to go at this time. And I walk in and I sit down. And I'm just like massively disheveled. And she's like, probably in her mind, like, who is this woman, right? And I'm just like, I am setting up a business bank account, and I had figured out how to set up an LLC. So I like had my LLC number, and she just said, do you think that you can keep $1,500 in this bank account? And I was like, no. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, no. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, but I know that I'm supposed to start this publishing house. And I remember her rolling her eyes at me, and I remember her just feeling like she just thought I was the dumbest person ever. And then I pull out my wallet, and my wallet is like a decade old. It's like fringed on the edges. It has markers on it from one of my toddlers deciding to color on my wallet. And I remember pulling it out, and she was so disgusted. Like, she was like, oh. I was so embarrassed. And I left that bank feeling so defeated. Like, what am I even doing with my life? Who do I think I am? Like, why would I ever be able to start a publishing house? How could I ever do this? Why would God ask me to start a publishing house? But I got into my car and I drove straight to Ross. Yes, I did. And I went and I bought myself a new wallet. And I was like, I will show her that I can do this. And sometimes I wish I could go back to that lady all these years later and be like, hey, remember me? Remember when you laughed at me that I was starting a business? I took it to be a multi-million-dollar company. Oh, that would be so great, right? It would be so great. But this is where it just continued, is that I then went to the lawyers to like, I was like, what was I doing? I was getting the trademark for the publishing house, which at that time was called Freedom House Publishing. And I remember being in there with my 5 kids, and I have 4 sons, and the first 3 are every 2 years, and they're just wild and crazy when they were little. They're pretty mellow now, but they were so wild. I mean, I could tell you stories and stories of these boys everywhere we went. They were doing backflips off of couches and tables and chairs, and they were always wrestling, and they were always fighting, and not like fighting they didn't like each other, like ninja fighting. Right? And I have this distinct memory of being in the lawyer's office, and my 3 boys are like cartwheeling and ninja fighting, and I've got a baby in my arm, and I remember signing these papers, and I just remember thinking, like, what am I actually doing? This is so crazy. And I just look at that version of me, and I wish I could just whisper into her ears, like, you have no idea. Like, you have no idea who you are. You have no idea what you will do. You have no idea that you're going to write 7 books by the time you're 43. You have no idea that you're going to become a single mom. And that after you become a single mom, you actually take $5,000 and you turn it into multiple millions. If only I could just go whisper that to her, because I remember just being so filled with self-doubt and just like doubting this calling that God had placed upon me, and just being like, what am I actually doing? I don't know how to start a publishing house. I don't even know anything about publishing. It's so funny to think about this. And then I remember that we got it all set up. I got it all legally set up, the bank account, and nothing. No books published. None. No books published. Oh my gosh, none. But mine. I published my book. And I figured out how to publish my book. And then like nothing happened. And it was like 2018 went by, 2019. And like towards the end of 2019, I get a letter in the mail from the bank that says, your bank account is down to $14. And it had just been like the dividends taking it out because I had only thrown in like 100 or something to get it going. And I remember walking up to that bank like a 16-year-old who stomps her feet, because I was a foot stomper when I was a 16-year-old, and it was like stomping my feet up to that bank, and I am yelling like God in my head, like, why did you ask me to start a publishing house? Dumbest idea you've ever had. Literally, I have no idea why you said this. I am like, no one has wanted to publish with me. This isn't a thing. And I go in to close the bank account, and I hear an audible voice say, stop. And I just stop. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I put $100 back in that bank account, and I'm like, literally, God, why did you ask me to do this? And the very next week, one of the ladies who's in my mastermind, because I had started to run masterminds, came to me and said, I have a book that I wrote. Do you know a publisher? I was like, well, lucky for you. I own a publishing house that nobody really knows. Let's figure out publishing together. And so I feel like it was 2019 is when we started to just kind of publish a few people's books. And I remember it was actually like duct taping publishing. And if you were to look, there's this personality test called the Caliper. Highly recommend it. And on the assessment of thoroughness, okay, 0 being the least thorough you could ever be in the whole entire world, 100 being the most, I am a 3. So publishing, like the actual act of publishing, made me want to die. I was like, there was so much thoroughness. There was so many like, and I was like, this is not it. Like, there's no way I can do this. But my sister, Claire, she's like 100 in thoroughness. And so I remember, and it's so funny, I don't have a lot of like really strong, like point blank memories, but there is this moment. And it was when I was living on my sacred land. I was married at the time. And I remember standing out by my porch swing, and my chickens, I had chickens then, my chickens were like all around my feet. And I remember this phone call with my sister, and I remember saying to her, hey, Claire, how would you like to make extra money as a stay-at-home mom? Little did I know I was a sales rep back then. Little did I know that sales is one of my greatest gifts. I'm like, how would you like to make a little extra money as a stay-at-home mom? Because she had just had 2 little babies. And she's like, yeah, because her husband was in school to be a physical therapist. And I was like, I'll pay you $500 a book. And you be the project manager, and you take a manuscript all the way through, and I'll pay you $500 a book. And she was like, done. And so I flew to Vegas, and I sat with her in her apartment in Vegas, because that's where they were going to school. And I remember teaching her how to publish, because I had published, right? And so I'm teaching her all the steps. And then I like gave it to her. I was like, and now you do this part. And that was the beginning. Like, that was really the beginning of everything. And somewhere in this journey, someone pulled me into MLM, as always happens, right? And when I was in the MLM, my strategic brain started to start firing. And I saw what needed to happen to build an MLM. And I knew we needed funnels. And I didn't even know the word funnel, but I just like knew there was like something that I needed to capture people and bring them through a system. And at the time, the husband I was married to worked for a CRM company and a funnel company. And so one day he sat down and he taught me funnels. one time. And my brain, it was like my brain was always made for funnels. And this was on like the hardest funnel builder system at the time. Infusionsoft was it at the time. Now they call, now they're by Keep. But like really the hardest one you could learn on. And it just all made sense to me. And so I started to build funnels for this MLM company that ended up obviously like not working. But then I became very equipped with the skill of funnels. And so all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I know how to systemize a publishing house. I know how to make this so damn easy for authors to go through. And so I fly back to Vegas, and Claire's, I think she like literally had her third baby at this time. She's got like a nursing baby and 2 toddlers, and we're tucked in this bedroom of her apartment. And I'm like, I see how to build a publishing house that is built off of systems. And I start building it with her, and I'm showing her what needs to happen. And we just build this whole inner systemized publishing house. And then I was like, we get a business. And we moved to Idaho. No, we were already in Idaho at this time, because I remember asking her. So I'm in Idaho, and this is when I start to go full send. So when we moved to Idaho, it was like massage therapist Keira had been laid to rest, because I didn't want to try and start a whole new business in Idaho of massaging. And I like, it was so hard to quit when I was in Arizona, because these clients had been my clients for like 15 years. And so it was kind of like, when we got to Idaho, I like became this new identity. I was no longer a massage therapist. I no longer had a photography business. And so I really went full send. And that's when momentum began. And, it's so crazy. And I think that it's always so important to remember where we started. I remember it was like August of 2020. We're in our home in Boise, in Idaho. And like COVID's just like rampant. The kids are all being homeschooled. And I am like, there's just so much creation. I'm like writing. I wrote a book in like 5 days, and like hired this artist who did all this beautiful work in it. It's called Rise and Awaken to the Joy of Being Human. It's probably one of my favorite books I've written, and I never talk about it because it's full color, like 130 pages full color, which means that I have to sell it for like $55 on Amazon, and no one wants to buy a book for $55. So no one buys this book, but it's such a beautiful book. And I was like writing, I think I remember building my first digital course that was like really substantial, and it was called The Spiritual Entrepreneur, and I was teaching people how to build business. Like, I love that I was teaching people how to build business at that time. And I remember doing a like 90-day journal. What is that guy's name? I love this guy. I cannot think of his name right now. He's like the entrepreneur on fire. Do you know him? Anyways, he had this great 90-day journal. And I had this remembrance because like right now, like to keep my empire afloat, like we need a substantial 6 figures a month to be able to pay all the employees and do all the things that we do, have the TV show, all this stuff, right? And I was just kind of like complaining a little bit to myself, like, oh gosh, I got to make another 100K in the next, like, it's just like this really intense grind for me sometimes, And then I like went back to this memory that I'm going to tell you right now when I was doing that 90-day journal. And in that 90-day journal, all I was trying to do was figure out how to make $5,000 a month. And that felt like the hardest thing in the whole entire world. Like, how do I make $5,000 a month? And I believe God brought that memory back to me this week when I was asking God, like, oh, I got to make another 100K in the next few weeks. Okay. And then God was like, remember when it felt so hard to make $5,000 in a month? Can you just like shift your viewpoint? Because now you have to make 100K in a month. Like, come on, Keira. Don't be stressed. Don't be worried. Like, you got this. Like, look how far you've come in like no time at all. And it's like, you're right, you're right, you're right. And so like, I love these stories because they just remind me of where I was only a few years ago to where I am now. And every piece of the story is layered with 3 important factors. 1, everything that I do is called of God. Like, every piece I'm given, every step I take, every action that I take is a vision I received, or I heard it in my prayers. And that is why I believe that JOA has moved at the speed of light. Like, it really has. But this is really important, and I cannot deny this. Like, I am an action taker. And when God speaks, I do. And I do not waste time. So when I hear, I do. And it is not like, well, like I'll do it in like 3 months or 6 months. Like, it's like within 24 hours, I take action. And I believe that that is the combination of my like really faithful action connected to the visions that I'm given. And then the third one is that this actually just brings me so much delight. Like, creation brings me so much delight. And building this business has brought me so much delight, and has brought me a lot of stress and a lot of fear and a lot of tears. And I love it all still. And so I believe that this is like the tripod, sure, whatever. It's the trio that has made such wild success. The inspirations from God, the immediate actions from me, and the fact that I just love this so much. And every day I love it even more. Like, every day I meet a new author and I hear the book that they've been called to write. Like, I just get so excited about this birth. I get so excited about words that are going to come to the earth in books that live beyond our lives. I get so excited because I have watched hundreds of authors' lives change because they wrote their book. I get so excited about them standing and holding their own book. And so, little did I know, that day in that bank, when that lady laughed and mocked at me, that day the lawyers and my kids were ninja punching and karate chopping, and that day when God told me to not close my bank account. All those 3 moments, if only that Keira could have seen, she wouldn't have dealt with so much doubt. And so I think that's really the message for me. It's the message for you, is that if you could just see who you're really going to become, what you're really going to do, you wouldn't be stuck in stagnation. You wouldn't be trying to sift through layers and layers of doubt and fear. Instead, you would just be. And so my story is far from over. I am just beginning. I am going to do great things on this planet. And I already have. Honestly, with the hundreds of books that I have helped people write and publish, that is my greatest legacy. That I help people bring words to this planet that stay in the written form, that will be here for lifetimes. This is the work. So, more stories to come. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you sleep well. And I'll see you tomorrow night.